Hey everyone, Felipe here. Welcome to another Tower of Saviors card review video. In this video, I'll be taking a look at the new 1% jackpot card, Rippling Dragon-Howl Lelenia. Lelenia is going to be a water dragon card, and I'll be taking a look at her leader skills, active skills, and team skills, and letting you know my opinions and thoughts about this card. So without further ado, let's get started and looking at her leader skill. For her leader skill, we have that when the team only has dragons, your team attack increases by 6 times and your HP increases by 2.5. Your runestone movement time increases by 2 seconds, regardlessly. By dissolving water runes, you get a ×3 team attack bonus, and by dissolving a character runestone, you get an additional 2.5 team attack bonus. If no character runestone is dissolved in the first batch, your damage received will be decreased by 30%. Now let's take a look at her team skill. We have when the leader is Rippling Dragon-Howl Lelenia, water runestones will also possess the effect of other attributive runestones. Rippling Dragon-Howl Lelenia and Bahamut will have their skill cooldowns reduced by 6 when entering the stage, and all other dragons will have their skill cooldowns reduced by 5 when entering the stage. Damage of dragons will be dealt regardless of defense. And the first batch of runestones to be dropped will be Water Dragon runestones. Additionally, members with additional effects in play will have their attack increased by 3.5. At the end of the round, if there is a member in a fatigue state, your skill cooldown of all dragons will be reduced by 1. Additionally, when the leader is a dragon and there is Lelenia in the team, when you activate a dragon active skill, Lelenia and Bahamut will have a -1 skill cooldown reduction. So, overall, I think she's not a bad leader. However, let's go over her pros and cons. Her pros is that she has pretty good damage output with all the multipliers that she has, ×6, ×3, ×2.5, and if your member has an additional effect in play, you have an additional 3.5 attack bonus. She has a lot of cooldown reduction after entering the stage, which means that your dragon active skills will be ready from the get-go, and you will be able to activate all your buffs and deal a lot of damage from the get-go. Additionally, after activating her skill, she can also reduce her cooldown if there's an enemy if there is a member in a fatigue state, and if you are fulfilling the character runestone condition, that means that you should have a fatigued state member every round, and that means that your skills will be reduced even more as you progress through the battle, which means that you can activate them faster and also kill more enemies this way. This also means that every time you activate a skill, Lelenia and Bahamut will have a skill cooldown reduction, which is also really powerful because that means you can activate Bahamut's damage increase or Lelenia's active skill that we will look at later more often, and that is going to help you a lot as well. However, she does have a couple downsides to her. The first one is her team attack is just 6, which in the current meta is already on the low side. Nowadays we're seeing cards with ×7, ×8 or higher, which means that ×6 is going to be a little bit on the lower side. The other downside that I see to her is that her damage increase is also conditional. Yes, the conditions are easy to hit, but there are cases where you are not going to be able to dissolve or satisfy these conditions. The first one is dissolving water runes. This is going to be really easy to hit because her first batch of runestones will always be water dragon runes, which means that your team attack will always increase by 3 times, provided that you can dissolve water runes. If you've noticed, if you encounter an enemy that blocks the dissolve of water runes, Lelenia is going to die because your team attack will probably not be enough without this ×3 attack, and because your sky drop is blocked, which means that you just end up with a dead block in your board, which doesn't give you that many combos, and it might end up killing you in subsequent rounds as well. For character runestones, if you have an enemy with traffic light runes, that means that you're not allowed to start with character runestones because you don't start from the traffic light, and that means that you're also going to be locked out of the 2.5 team attack bonus if you're not able to dissolve character runes. Another downside is that she does rely on character runes to achieve her max damage output. Yes, you do get some damage reduction if you don't dissolve character runestones, but 30% is not that high. compared to other damage reduction leaders, and enemies are hitting really hard, so 30% is probably not going to be enough to save you in certain scenarios. The thing I don't like about character runestones though is that this only gives you 6 starting positions on the board, which gives you a little bit less flexibility on where to start and how to spin your board. However, that is something that you can get used to, especially because Lelenia will have to rely so much on dissolving character runestones to achieve her maximum damage potential. Additionally, if you have a fatigued member in your team, you get a skill CD -1, which means that you should always aim to pull character runestones so that you have a member in a fatigue state every round, and that way you can reduce your skill cooldowns by 1 every time and activate them really high as well. Another benefit from a Lelenia team, going from negative to positive, is that she has an HP multiplier of 2.5, and dragon cards have a really high HP pool, which means that you are going to be super tanky, especially if you add Nidhogg, Calamitous Nidhogg, or things like that. You're going to be really tanky. However, here's where the negative comes in. She does not have any boost to recovery or HP recovery team skills or leader skills that will help you recover that. Dragons inherently have really low recovery, which means that you have a really big HP pool, but if you encounter an enemy that reduces you to 1 HP, you're not going to be able to recover that as easily without the help of any active skills, since she does not have any team skills or leader skills that will help you recover HP. Her active skill will help with that, but we will cover that later. But I still think it's a downside that she cannot do it without the help of an active skill, as opposed to Kehun or Jichen, where they can just spin normally and recover HP without having to use their active skills. But yeah, so overall, I think she is a good leader, but I do think she is going to struggle a little bit with endgame content. This is because even though she has a lot of skill cooldown reduction and damage multipliers, she doesn't have that many enemy skill counters or shield breaking potential. You will be relying a lot of your members, and the good thing is that you have a lot of skill cooldown reduction, which means that you can activate these members to break those shields. But if you're running Bahamut, Nidhogg, Novalis, that only gives you 1 extra team member slot. You could remove Novalis, that gives you 2 member slots, which means that you are only able to break 2 shields. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that you are going to be limited by the number of members that you can bring. So depending on the stage, you might not be able to break all of the shields that are present in that stage, because she does not have any shield breaking potential in her kit whatsoever. So I do think that is going to be a downside to her. But yeah, overall, I do think she's a good leader. She has pretty good benefits, good damage multipliers with easy conditions that you just need to get used to her playstyle. She has a lot of skill cooldown reduction, which means that you can spam your active skills and kill a lot of enemies that way. However, she does have downsides, one being the shield breaking potential. She's not going to be able to counter a lot of enemies in the game. The other one is that certain enemies will just kill you straight up. For example, water block will kill you, and traffic light runestone will hinder you but not kill you. And yeah, some enemies will be really detrimental for her, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's her leader skill, and I do think it's good for mid-game content. End-game nightmare stages, maybe not so much unless the stage is tailored for her, which Mad Hit might do, if I'm completely honest. But we'll see. So now let's take a look at her active skill. Her active skill is going to be a CD7 active skill and has the following effect. For 2 rounds, you have unlimited runestone movement time without dissolving. You are able to remove Tornado. Any runestone touched while moving will be converted to dragon runes, and every time a water rune is touched while moving, 5% of your HP is recovered until your team HP is full. At the end of this linking magic formula skill effect, all dragons in the team will enter a hyper state. In my opinion, this skill right here is going to be really powerful, and it will also really complement Lelenia's playstyle. This is because Time Tunnel are really powerful, and you get 2 rounds of Time Tunnel. If you follow my channel closely, I've always said that Time Tunnel is one of the more powerful active skills in the game because it allows you to stack and have just generally an easier time spinning. However, in this case, it is also going to be really powerful because it will allow you to trigger character runes even when there is traffic light runes. This is because you can just pull your character rune, leave it somewhere, and then start from the green vortex to the red vortex, and that will also count as you completing the traffic light condition, which means that this unlimited runes to movement time will allow you to counter traffic light rune enemies and still be able to dissolve your character runes without an issue. That also applies for other debuffs, for example, sticky runes, electrify runes. You're going to be able to pull your character rune and then arrange everything with the time tunnel. Removing tornado is also going to be really powerful because even though certain cards can ignore tornado, the runestones underneath the tornado are not able to be dissolved, which means that you're going to have less combos, less sky drops, and things like that. So being able to remove them will give you more sky drop, more combos, and easier time spinning in general. So being able to remove tornadoes is really beneficial in my opinion, and also really beneficial if you decide to use Lelenia as a team member rather than using her as a leader. The HP recovery is going to be critical for Lelenia. Like I said before, Dragon recovery is really tragic, really low, which means that even if you have a really large HP pool, you're not going to be able to recover that readily, which means that this active skill is going to save you a lot because it is going to be able to bring you back to full. However, keep in mind there's no overheal, so any overheal stages, definitely a no-go for Lelenia because she does not have the recovery or the tools to deal with an overheal enemy. Luckily, overheal is very rare nowadays, so hopefully that's not something we have to deal with. Additionally, at the end of the round, you get the dragons to a hyper state for 2 rounds, and this is also really nice because it gives you additional damage output, but also allows you to bypass enemy skills that reduce your entire team's attack. I'm talking about the red debuff on the character icons. If you already have a hyper state condition going into those enemies, their enemy skill will not trigger. So for example, if an enemy reduces your attack for 5 rounds, if you enter with a hyper state, that condition doesn't activate, and you can just kill the enemy without having to wait for 5 rounds. However, that is going to be a little bit hard to time, especially because you have the linking magic formula and you have to wait until the effect expires. But if you fail to kill an enemy or you activate it too early, then you might still not be able to counter those enemy skills. I do think her skill is really good. CD7 is a little bit long if you use her as a member. However, because using Lelenia as a leader will allow you to have skill cooldown reduction with fatigue members or by activating active skills, it means that Lelenia's active skill will be ready faster than this CD7 skill. Additionally, with a -6 after entering the stage, plus a Dragon Craft, you can activate Lelenia from the get-go, which means that you are going to be able to benefit from the time tunnel and from the HP recovery whenever you need. Unless the first enemy has a skill CD reset, but that is also rare and far in between. But yeah, overall, I think Lelenia is a good leader. Definitely a good dragon leader. Definitely can slot in Novalis, Nidhogg, and use them to the max potential. But she does have some downsides that can be played around, but definitely for some nightmare stages, I wouldn't say she is my pick. I still think Kehun and Jiten will be better options for now, just because they have more consistent healing and also really high HP pools as well. Her active skill is really good for her and really complements her playstyle because it will cover some of her weaknesses, especially because Time Tunnel will help you counter certain debuffs removing Tornado and also recovering HP will also benefit your playstyle. As a member, I do think her skill cooldown is a little bit long, but the fact that you can remove Tornadoes for anyone is also going to be really good, especially down the line when Madhead introduces more Tornado enemies. But yeah, overall, not a bad card. Is it worth pulling specifically for her? If you have Jiten and Kehun, I would say it's fine not to, just because they are better dragon leaders, especially Kehun is a black gold card, definitely a better leader than Lelenia. Lelenia has a lot of conditions that you need to satisfy, and if you don't, your damage suffers. So as a 1% jackpot card, I'd say she is a little bit under the standard for 1% jackpot cards, even though the most recent 1% jackpot cards have been not super good. For example, like Randena, no one's been using a Randena team, things like that. So as a 1% jackpot card, I do think she is a little bit underwhelming, and I would suggest for you to save for the next collaboration. You saw Shiroyasha from Gintama is really powerful, so collaboration cards are typically stronger. Black gold cards are also stronger. So I'd say if you don't have the resources, save your diamonds for the next collaboration patch or the next black gold card, because although she is a good leader, she is not critical to get, and I do think you're able to save your diamonds in this case. However, if you're a collector or if you have additional income, go ahead and pull for her. You will probably have some fun with her, but again, it's up to you. Keep in mind this is just a game, and you don't need to spend money for this card, in my opinion. But if you're a collector or if you have the extra income, I'd say pull for her. But otherwise, I recommend saving your diamonds for the next collaboration or the next black gold card. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about this card. If I said anything wrong or if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned on my YouTube channel for more Tower of Saviors content. For now, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone!